John's been in the business for 30 years, so he certainly has a very strong background in it. Would you welcome John Auchettl?
Okay, right. I'd just first like to thank you for inviting me up to the conference. It's a great privilege to be on your 50th birthday, because I'm 50 now, so we're sharing a common identity. But thank you to the committee, especially to you, Cheryl. Thanks for your help. And I know you've had lunch, and I'm going to move very quickly because there's a lot to be said, but I don't want to bore you in the sense that I'm going to go very fast. I'm going to make you go outside the box. So it's not the standard lecture about what we do. It's more to do about the general health of ufology around the world. These are just observations, so we'll start from now anyway. Some caveats. First thing is that what I say is not God's rule. There's nothing important about what I say. It's up to you to go and check this all out. So the first rule in research is that you hear what people tell you and then you do your own research. So these caveats are vitally important to get out of the way. Other thing is, do images lie? Of course they do. That's a picture of me there with Einstein, so it's pretty good, I thought. But anyway, yes, they do lie. You've got to be very careful when you're dealing with ufology. It's full of hoaxes. We just had one recently in Western Australia, so you've got to be very careful. So just be careful. Don't take it as big gospel what I'm telling you. Just be careful to have a good analyse what you're given and watch out for hoaxes. The other thing is, Emptor, obviously, is that what you buy is your decision, so you've got to make sure that you get the correct goods for what you're paying out for. Okay, let's go into this first. Oops, hang on, that one.
D12. It's D12. Yeah, it's D12. It's hovering.
Yeah, it's just coming in. I can't make that.
It's A. It's Alpha. It's just series 12. It's
28.
It's 28. Take my word for it. It's 28.
Okay. 28.
It's a rare one. Oh, it's like Barry.
Very clever. Well, I put that on because that's how most people think. Well, that's what we do all day. We just go out we just go hunting and blogging on these spotted UFOs. So the interesting thing about that is that I think the microwave was the interesting part of the case anyway. So let's get back. Okay, 50 years. So I'm going to indulge myself a bit here because I'm celebrating it. I'm 52, so people ask me, how did you get involved in this? And it's a long story. It starts off basically by a trip that occurred during the war. I'm just trying to point here, this is where I am now, and that's where we are now. And some years ago, during the war, my father went to Kokoda, and he was in the 39th at Kokoda. That's the plateau itself where the battle took place. This is the actual, the plateau itself here, and this is where the commanding officer was killed. This was the original battalion was in this area during Kokoda. It's the famous 39th Battalion, which Damien Pera actually photographed during the war. He won an Academy Award for his picture, for his movie. So the initiation was, my father was mentioning get in, just loved it. He just went after he was wounded up there, so he went right down the trail. He got wounded in Goma and was flown back out to Australia. But after being in Kokoda, he just loved the place so much that when he got back to Australia, he thought he'd like to go back if the opportunity arose. At the same time, this group was also in formation itself, and there's what I'm trying to hint to is that you, in the 50s, you have, this is off of a document, you have a gentleman called Stan Sears, who's linked to me in the sense that he's the Queensland link to my pathway to ufology. And down in Victoria, there's this chap here, another Sears, Jack Sears, who's doing ufology also. So you've got this strange pattern occurring where you've got two Sears in two different states starting off groups and working within groups themselves. So we get back to Australia. My father flies up and starts his medical career up in New Guinea itself, and we were stationed down in Kagang here off New Ireland, that's New Britain, and not long after this was their second posting, I was born up there. This is the Territory of Papua New Guinea, which is mandated territory for United Nations. Australia actually controlled it. So we're actually, when you're born up there, you had to reapply to come back to Australia, even though your parents were Australian. You were born on the United Nations soil. And you'll see 55, and down here is my link to the Sears. So what actually occurs is that I didn't actually want to pick this pathway in life. It actually picked me in Australia, and I've never been able to kick out of it. And I find it interesting that the Sears themselves, they're all the same. It's something to do, the name's interesting, as you can see, but all those people, anybody with this kind of surname is all really interested in this type of subject, but you can't get away from it. So that's my pathway into the subject itself. So if anybody asks me, how did you get involved, it wasn't by any special miracle thing. It was just the fact that I was steered into it by family members, and through them, after I was born, this is back in the 50s, my course in ufology was set, so that's how I actually got involved. Now my theme in the actual lecture, the mandate I've been given, is just to talk about this end time. We all know about ufology, and we're all interested in it, and we have a reasonable structure on what we consider as what's going on. But basically, out in the public, the press have been really hounding us down with this idea that we're at our end time. And what I want to try to show today is that their assertion is that it's finished. There's no more ufology. It's all dead. So we've got 50 years and it's over. So we might as well go home. Is it a true or a false statement? And I hope at the end of this lecture that you'll be able to make some judgment on this. I'm in favour it's a false statement, but I'll let you make that decision yourself. Rightio. This is some of the general. This is just recently. This is some of the general press that's occurred. This is in the Age, the Melbourne Age. It's just recently occurred. Down here's the date. You can see the headlines. You see a lot of it. If you Google the news, you'll find a lot of these occasions where some retard decides he wants to write about ufology, and the first thing he talks about is the fact that his opinion is that it's dead. This is in the Guardian in the UK. You get this type of heading. A lot of groups are dying, of course, because the internet's taking out, as I'll show you in a minute. So as these groups die, the press get onto it, and they just identify it as being our problem, that we're on our way out. So what we've got to do is, first, how do we handle the data that we get given to us so that we can start to make some good judgments on the future. Now, what I do is, in my judgment, and this it varies from research to research, like Mr. Bill Chalkerwood, he's a long-term researcher, he has a different method, or maybe similar to mine, but we have to kind of balance up our data in two parts, and the idea is that you have I'll just press the next button. You have the defending view, is the UFO view, so the abductee or the person who brings the photograph to you, they have to defend their case. And I've always, the way I work and my group works is that we work as the prosecutors. The reason is if you can't justify your case to me, we listen to the case. I'm not saying that we're cruel in that way, but you've got to kind of come up with the goods. If you don't come up with the goods, then you just have to march on, because it's vitally important to make sure that this part of the case is correct. So what we do, we prosecute, and after prosecuting the case, if it stands up, it's okay. All you've got to do is make sure that you don't get on this side if you're researching, because if you're on this side all the time, you can get terrible biases occur. So well, I generally try to prosecute as much as possible. When we get enough data, then I can take it right to a court of law and say, look, I can defend this case. But at the moment, whoever brings the case, he must defend it. The other thing that you should also realise, that there's so much data out there, contrary to what the press tell you, and the interesting about is that the nature of this object, this phenomenon, it's what clarified here, is that it's hidden. It's not accessible directly, so you've really got to go and mine it or hunt it, because basically it's very difficult to find. And I think Dudley, it was one of Dudley's emails that I picked this up, but it's very true. The case is that that you must go hunt it. It's not easily accessible, so there's a bit of legwork to do, and most people just don't spend the time to go and do the legwork. But you do have to spend a bit of time to do the legwork. The limits. How many reports do we need to actually prove that UFOs exist? Well, we're all sold, but in reality, the Indians had a story back in the US that there was white crows, and they had the name, and the British arrived, said there's no such thing as a white crow. You know, it was a myth stories. Anyway, if you look at what James said here, that if you get one white crow, if you find just one white crow, then the myth or the story, the original myth is nullified, and the story holds true. But you only need one case. So it's sufficient, just one. You don't need lots of things. So we tend to collect a lot of stuff, but if I can show you one case, and then that will be ample enough to show the curse. Well, as it turns out, today, you probably know there is white crows, but in the past, with lack of communication, a lot of myths stayed in a community as being true. The reality is that the Indians were correct. There was white crows. The original assumption was wrong, and therefore it's ruled as false. So the reality was the Indians were correct. So really, myth-based sometimes is the correct view, because it's coming from people who have a general knowledge of the location. Okay, values. Which type of media do we value the most? This is very important when you're dealing with research. Do we like the paper value, or the camera value, or the video value? Now, most of us, especially myself, I'm technically minded, so I really enjoy the electronic side of things. But as you can see, in the past, I was speaking to Bill a few minutes ago, that paper was the main medium of communication, where today we've gone from cameras onto videos and now to mobile phones. So which one of these do you value the most? Now, for instance, things like magazines, it's an example of what paper value is. You can see the magazines produce lots of data, which is put onto 2 pages here, but it tends to be non-directional in a lot of sense. It lacks shape. It can be very confusing. You just look at the back. To get into detail, you've got to put your glasses on and have a bit of a think about it. So it needs to be more clarified a bit more. And it's complex. So what happens when you have somebody who's outside the UFO research process? We will read this, but most people just glance at it and just go shoot off to the next subject. So we need to tend to show people things in a visual aspects, or use visual items to make things more, not so much important, but give it priority, especially in media. Media prefer visual aspect rather than actual paperwork. So this is not the way we want to go. So there is a battle going on all the time that occurs between text and images. And researchers like myself, we're always battling this. We tend to get bogged down in this one, we don't get enough of that one. And when we get this one, it's very hard to work out if it's false or true. We've got to do a lot of analysing. So this one is, we're rich in this, poor in this, but we need a lot of effort to work this one out, and this one is very difficult to dissect, but you know, there's a lot of programs coming online now, especially Google can do a lot of research and search engines. So let's take, for example, Whittlesea, which was an image that we had down in Victoria not so long ago. And this is the image. And these are the two reports in the Age and the Herald Sun. Now all I've done is I've extracted the spaces away and just taken the data down to its really limits and had a look at the data itself. And you'll see the report here. I might just say, in regards to books, I'm just talking about media, not books. That's a different story. Books are much more informative because the author is going to describe the information. But what a reporter will do, a reporter will quickly give you a description of the event. There's the UFO here. However, what I'm trying to show is that the text is, compared to the visual, it's just an easy assessment that which one we most likely prefer the visual rather than text. Mind you, researchers like text. I'm not just counting it. So let's look at this. Just take this data, for example. In regards to the byte size, just the one article is at just 1,800 bytes, but the image produces, 150,000 bytes. So you can do more with this than with text itself. What I mean by do more, you can manipulate it and analyse it much more. Okay, the next part of images, which is important, is that you have what's called a colour count. If you do analysis in mathematics, we're binary in sense, where computers work in binary, but text is virtually binary. Most of it's white, but we need both, yin and yang. But the fact is it only works in two types of mode, and you have to do a lot of drilling to get data. Where a photograph, for instance, comes in a variety of colours. For instance, this Whittlesea photograph. You have more to look at. Even though the UFO up here is very relatively small, this photograph here can tell you a lot more about the scene and what went on. So it's much more rich in data. Right, the other angle I'm actually approaching is what we call the tipping points. Now, tipping points are very important to researchers in the sense that they give you an indication of where we're going in the future. Now, I'll just define it first. It's easily defined. It's just where something occurs that starts to change the process, change the path of some other factor. And this is the gentleman who discovered it down here. In 1960s, he coined the phrase itself, the tipping point. Now it's got two functions. There's a point that occurs and there's a rate of change. And if anybody's a mathematician around, rates of change are very important in analysing data. They can give you lots of predictions into the future because you can actually project off the data. But anyway, this Nobel Prize laureate, in 1972, he pushed the idea a bit further. The original idea was to do with the movement of blacks into Negro Americans into local areas, and as they came in, the observation was the more they came into the estate, it got to a stage where when they got enough, the white families would leave the estate. There was a tipping point. So as the American Negroes, the Negroes leave the local area, there was a point where the tip occurred and all the whites would leave. And it's quite common, that was the original concept that occurred. But this gentleman here, he changed the way we see it, and he refined it, and now it's used on nearly everything, economics and in science and other projects. But it's a very important function. Now it has the thing that I don't want to go into detail of tipping point, but what I want you to realise is that it has two types of function. There's a negative progression and a positive progression. I'll just show this by this graphic here. I have to flip it. You start off with a common denominator, a common item, like for instance the white people in the estate, and then you have the Negroes entering the estate. Now all you do is just change the names of the variables. You can call this press or cameras or something, and make the UFO function occurring. And that's the general line that this one would normally follow. These functions here, these quantities are just here for information for you. That's a time scale there. And what happens as the time progresses, the two slowly, gradually develop up. And what you're noticing is the bottom one, the ufology itself, is slowly gaining momentum. And what happens, they strike each other at a certain period in time. When they strike each other, there's a function, actual collision occurs of some sort, where there's a reaction to the two operating together. And what can happen to the original one, the white people, is that the reaction will be negative. This one will increase, and the other one will descend into a negative state. So you can see that originally this one will start to decrease down, and this one will start to impose itself upon the territory that's involved. But remember, this can be anything. You can just substitute to your own requirements. Now the other one is the positive, which interests me because we are looking at positive changes. They're the important ones to show progression in the future. By looking at the positive ones, we can get an estimate of what's going on in the future, and are we going backwards or forwards. So the same conditions occur, starting points at the same locations, the same path and the same rates, and then the two events slowly progress to each other, and as they approach each other, they have the collision. Again, this is not a correct collision in the sense that we know it's a subtle form of collision, can be any form, but there's a mixing of the two groups. But in this case, there's a slight hiccup, and then the second group responds to this one, right? And it then flips up and piggybacks itself above the other one. Now that's what ufology has done. It's slowly been developing over time, and it kind of locks onto things and starts to develop, gets larger and larger. It progresses up. It's not in a regression, it's actually progressing into a positive state. So ufology is currently in that state at this very moment. Okay, tipping points are important to identify data. Now I'm in aircraft, so I just use it as a quick starting point. A lot of this is a little bit around the ballpark, but you'll get the general drift as we get closer to the end where we're going on this. But you'll see with aircraft, if I get the data from the Department of Transport, if you log in the data back from the 50s here, you see that aircraft are increasing dramatically. So we're right up, this is how many aircraft are registered in Australia, all types of aircraft from the Civil Aviation Department. Now this is the progression of UFO reports coming up. But you see they're not linked in any sense. Both people say, oh, there's aircraft being identified in the sky, that's the cause of this. But you see there's actually no correlation, there's no actual linking of the two, even though we do identify aircraft as sometimes as being the casual item. But most people can identify what an aircraft is, and you can see they're not linked in any sense. So that's a negative on that one. So let's go to point number 2, UFO images. Okay, these are our images from PRA, this is of our stats. And you see in the past we've been slowly getting the standard, hang on, we'll go backwards, sorry. I'll go back one. Okay, we've been slowly getting images up and down through the years. There's been no major changes, just a normal cycle event. And then down here you see a change and this escalation of vision. So there's something occurred here, a tipping point occurred, which is obviously indicating there's something, ufology is hooked onto something, and it's now firing up. So that's where the other one we didn't see it. In this case you can see it's just been randomly going along. We have some important years, but this suddenly it's occurred. We're getting this massive amount of increase in photographs. And another example of this is Kodak. Just recently, Kodak, I think if you Googled you would have seen this, Kodak reported that they weren't going to make any more emulsion film. They were getting out of all that stuff now because it was not profitable and it wasn't working for them. So Kodak said it was all finished, it was all over because of the digital world that occurred. Now if you follow this up, the first test I want to show you is this, is that this is the Kodak, this is from Kodak stock from the United States. If you want all this data alone, I'll give it. This is their progress, their stocks rating as it progressed to today and back in, I don't know what date this, back in 71. You can see they've had a normal progression, the digital ages come along, and then there's this rapid decrease where they're going down. You see they're starting to fall below. So they've got to come, the directors in this company have to do some changing, but you can see there's been progressing normally, and then digital, something's occurred here, and they've lost stock. And if I overlay the imaging stuff that we get from PRA over the top of it, you can see that in this previous part it was emulsion film based, and this part here is with the digital CCDs and all those electronic imagery came, and you can see there's some type of tipping point occurred. It's not perfect, but you can see that somehow ufology is linked to this Kodak, I'll rephrase it, sorry. Kodak's problems are our benefit, and it's usually something's going on wrong with Kodak that's causing us to get the benefit. Okay, image volume. So what's the change? Well, it's to do with image volume. This gentleman here has one of the best databases in the world. Mind you, there's lots of types of databases around, but he has one of the best databases in the world with images. It's just magnificent. And in the future, as it comes online, I presume he'll bring it online, it'll be a resource that ufologists will, grasp. It's a great place to go. And he's collecting all this information from around the world in Australia. Bill Chalker and Keith Bassett sent a lot of stuff in there. I've sent some stuff in. I presume Martin and Shell probably sent some stuff in. But they're collecting all the imaging information. And you can see from the information here that they've got a very good collection now. So the reality is that the people that think that the ufologists come to end are wrong. In fact, the data is increasing. And you can see from this information that we're getting more stock, especially imaging stock, the good stuff, into the process now. Now, this is from one of these graphs off his webpage, and you can see here that you see the imaging process is increasing, but the trend line is up. So that's a good indication that we're not going backwards, we're going forwards and we're increasing exponentially, or not exponentially, but in a very linear way, quite successfully. I hope I'm not going too fast. Okay, reports on volume. These are the reports on volume. This is in under quantities themselves. You can see that over a period of time, the volume has been rather small and slowly increasing. But then we get into the 90s, into this 95 period, you can see there's been just a shot of information coming out. So much so that groups like myself, we just get pumped all the time. We don't even answer half our mail because there's just too much data coming in. But it's increasing at alarming rates. I'll just go back to this one. Now, I've just changed this and I've put this into a log form. And the log gives you a better explanation. You can see these down in the early days, he had sightings of 10 in a period. But now you're getting into this high levels. You can see the log. It just rearranges the data for you to see. Okay, computer chips. Okay, what's generating this change? Well, it's the computer chip. Anybody's technical know about Moore's law, but you can see that as time goes on, we're progressing with more and more the computer chips getting faster and faster. And as we get faster and faster, we're able to analyse things and collect much more data, but it's becoming more accessible to the public. So you can see here the trend lines are up, and our trend lines are up. And if you note down here that in the early days, 60s, the big changes occurring around in the 90s here. These trend lines are expanding. It's not a very good graph, but you can see it's expanding. Let's go to the chip performance. You can see down the chip performance itself. You can see it's slowly getting faster, and they're getting faster all the time. We're going to dual chips now, so we're getting this is where the driving forces are coming from. But this is quite obvious to all of you, but to the public, they may not realise that this is all, we're hanging off this quite a bit. And you can see here, the other aspect here is, what I like about this slide is that in the 50s, a computer was worth, $600 million just for a few bytes of information, where today, you can get a laptop for $800 and you've got all the power in the world compared to the past. Okay, net volume. This is important. Now, this is Errol's site. Everybody goes on Errol, but we keep a track of Errol's site to see if there's any trends occurring. You can see here, this is all the stuff that's coming into Errol every day. We've edited all these are the replies. That's the general quantity of stuff comes in each month. This is the replies, the reads on Errol's site. And this is all the new data that comes in, where somebody actually put something new up. But you can see that there's been no change at all in the sense that we're still in good times, nothing changing at all. Now, this is just the same data, the bottom stuff. It does trend up and down depending on the function, but you can see that this is another type of trend line. But you can see it just rounds up and down, but it's progressing up and down all the time. But we're not going down. We're actually leveled out, or we're in a sense ascending in some sense. So that's good news. Now, the next thing is we can look at is book volumes. You can go to Amazon. Anybody can do this, and you can just look at books at Amazon. It takes a bit of time to do this, and you can see Amazon just going for the dates 1970, looking up to today. You can see that there's books are totally different to news reports, but they're a good way of identifying how much good data is getting out. When I say good data, I mean data that's been, you can get some more, get your meat, get your teeth into, and you find that books are increasing all the time. Books on UFO are increasing. There's a bit of a lull here, maybe they've reached a point. But you see, even the word you find sources still has some currency in regards to ufology though. So when you do a search, make sure you search both of those, because people just assume that's dead, but it's still a current name. Let's go to this is another source of books. This is on the web now. We sent these chaps in the States this information, but they've put their books in order to, you can see the trend line is going. This is not quite complete, even though the sample size is very good. You're over 1,000, but you can see the trend line. Just pop the trend line on top of it, and you can see it's going up all the time. There is some peaks, and I think there's more data to go in there. Now, what's one of the big trend? What's one of the causes of us getting more and more data? Well, a few of us have had a look at this, and we've thought that this is probably the biggest movement. It's been in the way we program or use programs in regards to the computers. It's great to have the software, but if you don't have the computers, the programs to run the software, they're virtually great toys. So algorithms are like the guts of the mathematical programs, or the functions are required to make to carry out certain actions. So that I won't go into the definitions. You can look it up on that yourself. But this is where we've identified one of the biggest movers to the change in the data that's coming. So even though people say we're running out of information, we're hooked up to these algorithms. Ufology is hooked up to these algorithms, because the more algorithms we get, the more we can analyse and the more we can do. And we've got such a big database of photographs that with all these algorithms, we've got a great future ahead. And if you get things like Paint Shop Pro or any of those, you'll find in the old days functions were just limited to about 10 or 11. Now you get programs with 100 functions available, and things like plug and play or plug-ins. You just open up a folder, you stick in the guy's program, and you can run it off the program. So it's all based on this type of programming here. And how do we know this is improving? We're hooked onto it. You can see this is from Monash's science library, Hargrave library. And I just went and collected all the data, and you can see back here in the early days, computers were around, but nobody was really interested. And then suddenly there's this sudden tipping point, and off it goes. And you can see the trends in the mid-90s. As you probably realise, most of the groups revitalising. But you can see we're hanging this period here. We're all stuck onto this trend line now. But you can see we're not only stuck on the computer trend line, we are now stuck onto the algorithm trend line. But it's all positive. Okay. Hope I'm not going too fast. I just want to go over this, but another factor that we don't, you might find this not that interesting, but it's important to research, is that we're getting two important things are occurring that's changing our world in a lot of ways, and that's storage. In the old days, computers were all tape run, they're gigantic things, and today they're little baby things. They're just minute items. And you can see the amount of data being placed, that can be placed on a small disk compared to the old days is magnificent. It's very high. This isn't a log, by the way. So you can see between that and that is just miles and miles apart. Now, that's the trend line towards data. But the other important thing is the trend line towards the size of things. So in the past, you can't carry that thing around, and in the middle here, you couldn't carry anything around. But as we get closer in, you can carry laptops and personal computers in your hand. You can carry GPS. It's all to do with this, all these trend lines. So we are hooked up to this technology world, and you can see that this is another trend line about the disk shrinking itself. This is for storage like burning off disks, and you can see we're getting more as we go along. Now, oops, back. Right, okay. In the past, what the problems we had was that we used emulsion film, and I don't know if you remember, or even people probably use it today, that you only got 12, 24 or 36, and then you had to pull the slide out, pull the film out and redo it again. And therefore we tend to we were very economical with our photographs, where today this invention here, this is the killer. And these clip-ins or push-ins, scan discs are vital to us, and they're getting larger all the time. My camera, I've got a 1 gig in my camera, but as they get large, in fact, spinning discs will disappear as these come online. But these are great because it means that when you go in the field, you can carry a lot of data with you and use it. But the other important thing is that if you've got a digital camera, in the old days you got 12 to 36 and you paid a fortune. On mine, I can put about 700 shots on that little thing there. So you can see the idea with that is that when you can put more shots on, I can fire it much more, and therefore you get what we're finding is the photographs that are coming in are lots of the same object, so you can do more analysis. In the past, you got one little crappy photograph. Now you're getting a string of from 3 to 10 shots, and then they're moving, so you can do a lot of analysis. And also with these, a lot of cameras carry video in them. But the important point is that it's an important case. We're finding a trending increase in photography because of those discs, that people are taking more shots. The other interesting thing was how the net's operating. This is the early Fido days. If you were internet, you would have had your old little old computer dial up, and this is what you saw was just all basic text, basic stuff. But this is the development of the net in regards to passing messages. Now, funny enough, FidoNet and all this stuff, the ufologists were right up there. They were right into exchanging information. We had two BBSs down in Melbourne. We ran one. But the interesting thing was that, as you know, in the internet and ufology they're parallel, they go together. It's because it started with all this stuff. People were able to communicate, we could do it very quickly. You can see the trend line. That's the trend line for BBS as the old FidoNet. It's now declining. The nodes are declining because people are not using it because the internet web browsers are taking over. But you can see there was an early stage where it all got started and that trended up. But this one started to increase and then whack, it all went. And that's what we're on now. We're on that train. Right, web browser. The other trick is Microsoft web browsers. I don't want to go into this. There's a good story about this, but the interesting thing is that as web browsers improve, they're linked. They make our search easier, and they also offer us a lot of facilities available, like hooking up the Word and doing quick analysis with Excel and all that. So web browsers is one of the big tricks. Also, you can send a web page up very quickly through your web browser. Okay, let's link up web browsers. Oops, I missed it. Hold on. No, I'll pick it up. Okay. All right, so going too slow. Okay, this is just web pages versus UFOs. Okay, here's the trend line. This is the Google trend line. This is a log. Now, if the skeptics were correct, this would probably either be level or curving down, or it would have trended up and then trended down like the FidoNet did. But you can see here the word flying. The web pages that are to do with UFOs or flying sources, remember search both, are increasing all the time. From the early days, you had 10 to 100 pages. Suddenly, in this when the web browsers came about, you can see people accessing the net and they're putting stuff up. So this is a vitally important trend. And especially for ufology, and it's one of the, apart from sex and other things, it's one of the biggest search products items on the net. But you can see the trend occurring straight away. I'll just go to this one. This is for Alta Vista to prove that not just Google. This is common through all the web browsing databases that are available. And because they're available, you can search them. So it's a mining, a wonderful resource available. But you can see it's extending up for us. So we're not going to end times at the moment, not from the data I can see. Okay. Now, in regards to images, once we get through the part, we're looking at images now. The images themselves, there's so many programs, but I want to just talk about this program, this binary distance map. Now, a lot of these are available to astronomers, and if you look at algorithms, they usually come from astronomers or the military. And what they do, you've got about a 5-year lapse before it hits the public. And what normally happens is that the person who designs or got the idea, he's got a patent on it. As soon as he realises he's got a patent, if it's valuable, people like Microsoft will buy up his idea. And once they do that, you find them on basic products. But you'll see this is one of the more advancing programs available now. And by using it, you can, once you key in the information, you put the same picture from Whittlesey in, you can see that it can identify if things are close by or distant. And why this is important is the skeptics said that this Whittlesey one was a bug. And if you had a look at the video of it, in front of where the reporters were talking, you'd see all these bugs flying around. The Australian skeptics pointed out that it was all like flies and bugs on the field that were flying away. Well, this program has the it's not perfect, but it has the ability of saying, is it close by or at some distance? And you can see this is the object up here, and you can see that it's not close to the camera itself. This is in a spectral range. You can change all the settings. It's just wonderful. But you can change all the settings to all different types of configurations. This is a spectral range, and you can see here that this object, just to visually in your eyes, a good way of analysing something very quickly. When we get a photograph, we stick this on, and we have a bit of a look at it. It meets the criteria. If it's a fake, the way it sets up here alters. So all these colours blend away in a different format. But you can see this is its own distance. Even in your eye, you should be able to see it. The colours might be, it's better on a computer, but the colours are magnificent. You can change all the colour ratings. The other thing that's occurred now is that we're able to identify colour space, what's going on in the film itself. This is important for hoaxing. Hoaxers usually work off a program, Maya or something where they do alteration. When they're doing the alterations, they flatten all the colours down because the computer's trying to minimise the usage. For instance, it's trying to just turn things into like trying to minimise the colours when they're doing the programming. So in a real photograph, you get this variety. This is how colour photography works now. It's broken into blue, red and green, and you can see there's such a flash spectrum. All the colours are being in operation. We know straight away when we see this that we've got a pretty good photograph. All we've got to do is make sure that it hasn't been manipulated up where the photograph goes in there. But you can see this is a good trend. These are great visual aids for us, and they're all available to you now as you can go on. This is another way of looking at it. We can now, this program I'm using here, can split it into other ways of looking at it. And you can see the spectral line, the information is over a long, wide area, and it's spread properly. It's not hoaxed. Normally if you see this in a CGI situation where they're making for movies, especially amateurs, some professionals will know the tricks, but amateurs, all this will be down, flattened out, and it won't be spread. It'll be more spread flat. So this has got all the peaks required. It's got high intensities. But you'll see these programs be used in the future. Image 2. Okay, what I was talking about before, we're getting more with the cards and that, we're getting more and more sequences of photographs. This is a sequence from Victoria. You can see, I've just clicked them out. You can see that the person's just gone click, click, click. You can see there's a progression in this. You can see a bit of the building there as he's progressed on following the UFO. We've had a guy who's brought in 50 shots, so we had tons of information. But the Whittlesey one was interesting because there was a start, a middle, and a beginning. But then this guy was following this object. So this is one of the benefits of the future we're getting now. That's why we're increasing. And in this case, you can see the objects are over up here. In the top up here. And I'll just click up here. In that area there. And the second object here, the objects are over there. Okay, this is, I'll show you a blow up in a minute, but this is, on this screen it's low resolution, but these are very high resolution cameras as they get better. But you can see there's quite a bit of data there. We've got lots of data that we use to measuring angles and distance. We've got cloud bases, we've got, as they move around, they give us hints, cues that we can use to research, so we can do more analysis. And we blow this one up. And then you can look at these objects that were the first photograph here. You can see them both here, tracking the cloud. And here's the... Now, these objects didn't move. What was interesting, the cloud was moving along, and they seem to be in the general same location. So the normal, it gives us a good hint that when somebody says, oh, it was just some cloud formation, or there were balloons moving with the general weather. The case is not, it's not the case. These objects are virtually stationary, and these large clouds are moving along. So it's the more photographs we get, the more we can measure these things. Then recently we get some spectacular photographs. So much so that when you get them you think, oh, it's a hoax. So there's the object there. This is also large, nice bright day. We pop that on the machine, you see, it's spectrally perfect. It's got all the data. This guy is also got a sequence of shots. You can look inside the photograph, they've got all the data in there. There was no faking at all. And this is, I've brought this one in especially because it's really spectacular. And when you blow it up, getting closer, and we get closer to it again. And what it is, I have no idea. But you can do measurements in that, but it's got like a slit in here, something very dark bottom, and it's the glare of the sun. It's very odd. But it's what it is, I don't know. But the beauty of this now is that this shot is it's just the camera is using is so good. It's a function of lenses too, by the way. If you're a camera buff, the better the lens you got, the better the shot you get. But the little ones are pretty good. They're really getting onto it now. And also the camera's doing forcing the function on. So where in the old days we had to muck around and make mistakes, the camera's pushing it and correcting it for you, even though you get a lot of shake sometimes. In that same shot, the interesting thing is there's all these little artifacts and these little other things floating around. We have no idea. So this photograph's very rich, not just in this type. Hang on, not in this. What have I here? Not in just in this type of detail. I'll have to go back one. It's not just rich in this type of detail, but we can go and look at the data in the sense of looking around the film, around the surface area, and see if there's anything else there. And finding out these digital cameras work in an area that normal cameras can work, but infrared and all that can work in those on the extent to the left and right of the spectrum, and you get all these strange artifacts. So it's very good. I don't want to turn this lecture into like showing images, or I'm just giving you a general idea of what we can get now. These are some of the best ones just recently. Here's the sequence again, another sequence. This is from Victoria also, just recently. And this is great. I love this one because, again, when we got it, we thought, oh, this is a hoax. There's no way it's going to be real. So we looked it up, checked it out, and it's legitimate in the sense of the photographs. Okay, it's all got all the data. It's in sequence, and we got a few of them. We couldn't see anything, and we blew it up, and that was on it. And everything's changing now. The cameras are producing things that we never expected. It's as if it's like a jelly of some sort. It's quite interesting with some type of function in the centre here. It's odd, but again, we're not at the stage now we can identify things. But as the resolution improves and our cameras get better, we'll be able to get more detail in here. So we're on the way to getting better and better photographs. But you can see now that the resolution's improving and we're getting more of it. These are spectacular photographs in the sense that you can resolve something. A lot of them are just lights in the sky, things of that nature, but these are some of the better ones. What they are, I can't help you on that. They're UFOs. Okay, let's go to video. Now, videos are the big mover. Yeah, we haven't got to videos to the extent, the resolution on cameras is not that great, but we're getting now, due to storage and the types of CCDs or the types of cells they use, is that videos in the future, everybody's going to have it, especially video cameras and that. So this is going to be a great, you know, another 10 years, 50 years from now when we're all gone, this is where it's all going to be. But in 10 years from now, I can just see what happens, what videos are going to cause. Now, for instance, let's take this one. This is a triangle formation flying over Melbourne, and I've got to fire this up. I've got to get on it. I've got to find the cursor. There it is. Oh, there it is. Okay. And this is flying. This is a clip of the original film, and you can just, I split it in two, but you can see it. You can see them changing shape, but they don't look like balloons. We get a lot of. Well, when they're going, we don't get a lot of. We get a lot of balloons, but these colours are all different. But the camera resolution is not that good. But you can see that they're holding formation, and they're unique in the sense of the way they're shaped. This was moving over the middle. You can see the tree lines down here. But this will improve with time. What I actually put it up for was that it's a night shot, which is very rare, especially in video. Okay, in this one here, just got to get the cursor up. I'm sorry. Not time down. I'm nearly finished. Okay, there we go. Now, you did that? It's too short. There's a vision on it. Oh dear. I'll pick that one up later on. I'll get in vision on what's happened. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, you missed the vision. I'll try to get it back if we've got enough time. But you see this one, what we were interested in this one is that this is an edge enhancement of the video. You can see, first thing you notice that we can blow it up. We can get to about 600 times the size of it straight away, so that's a benefit straight away. Also, we can analyse the stream of data, which is important, with more power than computers. But the other thing is too is that we can analyse rotations, and we can try and look for number plate items. The problem with the subject is, as you can see, it's very vague at the moment. And the problem when skeptics hit us on, they say, oh yes, but this is just a line in the sky. We're trying to collect the data. So we're looking for things like rotation around central rotations, odd shapes, so like antennas hanging down, anything like that. But we're capable of doing that now. And as the resolution increases on these cameras, video cameras, you'll pick up, some of these are artifacts with cameras, but you'd have to see the video itself. I'll just flip through these because I've got on our time. It's altering all the time as it goes along. But this is a standard, this type of vision, you've probably seen the light, it's standard, it's got blue mat, it's not much detail at all, it's an object moving. But it's important to realise that it's changing now. I'll just go on to the next one. I don't want to bore you, I know. So this is another video, we've got it. Oh goodness. Okay. Now this one is not a good video in regards, cameras vary depending on who owns the camera and how much money they paid for it. But this guy took a photo movie, and I've got to get the cursor up. Oh, there it is. Before I start, down here is the top of the, like the lip of the original home, and I'll start this up. Oh dear. Oh, PowerPoint. I can bring it, I'll just keep going. I'll bring these up to you later on so I don't waste time. Okay. Let's get back to that one. I'll show you the video. I'll run it up another way. Here's the top here, and there's the object there. You can see it's a standard light in the sky. You can't do much with it, but it does some strange things. There's the object there. And then we go to the next one. This is another frame. And there's the object there. And what's interesting about this is that you put the two frames together. One is a frame set, and you stick them together, and we just take that as a measurement. You put that in there. And then we look at the shot there. Look at the shot there. When you see the video, what's actually happening is that the object's moving along this direction, actually. It starts off over here and was moving along. What we found in the frame shot was that it got to this location here, disappeared, and appeared back here. And that gives a lot of data because there's another observer to this. But the interesting thing was that you can do some measurements with this. So video cameras are going fast enough now and clear enough to get some other data from it. But I'll show you the video in a minute or so. But you can see there's a skip from there back to here. These things are moving very fast. And that's a trend that's occurring now, just recently up on one of the sites. You're seeing scenes where things appear, then disappear and appear somewhere else. In the past we thought it was shaped with camera, but there's a good opportunity, as we collect data with all the more vision, we can actually statistically follow this up. I hope all this works. If it doesn't work, I'll pop them up. Now, no. Well, I'll list the other one. I'll go. This is another video we took. This is very similar to the one that was in the United States. The video's better. I'll get that up for you. But if you look at this operating here, it's spinning around, but it splits into bits and pieces as it goes along. It changes shape. And it looks very much like a Delta wing. This is a very good copy. It's come off a very good camera. I'm preaching to the believers already, so you've probably seen all these type of photos before. But when you go to do a lecture with skeptics or anything like that, some military base, something of that nature, they're interested in this type of stuff because you can see that it's nothing to do with us. There's something odd going on in the atmosphere, and they do some strange thing, control and that type of stuff. Again, I'm not saying they're from anywhere special, but there's obviously some. You see it split here. This is the clearest frame of the lot. You can see it's quite a large object. This. Just recently, NASA, I'll show you in a minute, NASA, things disappear. We were wondering what was going on, like a masking device. I'm just making this up, there's no evidence of it. But you find objects will suddenly be very detailed and then disappear, and then come back in detail. So I'll show you what I mean. This femoral, this really like jelly type of appearance. I'll just keep going. Okay, here's the NASA. I'm coming to the end now. This is just recently the last shuttle. I don't know if you saw their video they brought back. It was shocking on the television. So they need to improve their cameras. Obviously, they got a better quality. But this was the camera capture, and you can see this object is very like it's something like a jellyfish. You can see in it. But this is a trend. A lot of my friends that are doing this research now think that this might be alive in that sense. It's not like an object that we would consider like a car, we've got number plates on. But you can see through these objects quite easily. And this is a high resolution shot, and this is from NASA. So but you can see this was following the last space shuttle. But if you have a look at it, it's got this kind of like a cell appearance to it. But this is the way we're going now. A lot of this stuff could be something floating in the air or being masked. But this is very strange, and I don't know if this is going to work. And this is it. I want to just finish what I'm doing now by showing this, and I might pop off in a second, get off the site. This doesn't start up.
You just saw some of the crew handheld video that's
I'm
coming
going to
down.
escape. Bear with me. Okay, just bear with me, I'm going to pop into a folder here. PowerPoint's notorious for this type of stuff. I'll go here. I was going to say that it took me about, you may not believe these cases, but I was going to show, why we're interested in a lot of this data is that this is, you don't have to believe the case, but you get this flickering effect that something will appear. This is Super 8. But you see, it would be able to pick on there and disappear to the left and came back. Well, film today, cameras of today got better quality than this now, better than Super 8. So you can see in the future we can aim at, we'll be able to do some measurements and observe these strange movements. So let's go back to this one here. Let's go to them. Right, yeah, well, let's have a look. I'll do the NASA one first. This is the NASA one.
You just saw some of the crew handheld video that's coming down. They showed a large piece of ice. It's incredible to me, but I've seen it, so I know it's true, that the space shuttle main engines that burn hydrogen and oxygen at 6,000 degrees on the inside can form frost on the outside because we circulate liquid hydrogen to cool the outside of the nozzle. And we have seen this ice come off several times in previous flights. The first time I saw it, and we saw it again most recently on the last flight last July, you look at those photographs, you would think that's got to be fabric. That's what the crew clearly thought. It is clearly ice. If you watch that video a little while, you can see it breaking up as it sublimated into water vapor. So that is not an issue.
But it looks like ice. But the important thing is NASA's actually can't get away from this now. Their cameras are, all the crew are now carrying cameras. They've got nothing to do, so when they go on their missions now, they've got wads of cameras with them. So, but the interesting thing about this is ice, normally the people say, oh, the ice would be destroyed in the flight. But this is the first time we've got really evidence of ice actually floating through the shuttle. The interesting thing was it was dissipating as it went along, but it doesn't look like anything that we've seen in the past. Normally what we see round objects, and they don't have that solid edge to it, that solid nature. These are very strange objects we're observing. They're not ice, and one of the complaints I've heard in the past, oh, it's just ice coming from space. Well, it's not, because that's a good example. That's a close-up of ice breaking up in space, and you can see that it's nothing like what we've seen in the past. I'll just get the other shots for you. I've actually finished, but let's see if I can get this on. The shake can be taken out of the camera. I can do it. You can take the shake out by looking on the object. This is a standard one you'll see. Most of us will all see. They bore you to tears now and then. This one's important because you can see it moving around and breaking up. It looks like it's breaking up, and then it all joins up. Ice would actually, once your vector occurred, start to move away, it would just dissipate. But you can see all these strange shapes. People said they were ice. I don't believe they are. Barry Taylor takes these photographs down the Grafton area, and they look like there's something floating up there, but there's ice that's not. People said it's just ice falling out of aircraft and things like that. You see it's not ice. And the other thing was... here's the spinning one. This is edge-enhanced spinning. And I'll run it again. Sorry it's so quick, I didn't want to put too many videos on, they don't work anyway. You can see what we can do when you do some measurements, we can find out if there's an axis. Why is it important that the axis be up and down? Because it's harder to fake something. Usually what we tend to do is to spin something this way is more difficult than to spin it this way. And what we tend to do in this case is that these have very high rates of rotation. And if you do engineering in that, you're looking for those axes required. And these are, engineers can fiddle around, get speeds and all that. You can find how large it is, all those type of things. But I'll just put it here to demonstrate how close we can get to it. And in the past, we just had a little video up here. Now you can really blow it up and have a good look in this case. And I think I'm pretty well. I'll go back to the last slide. And I've got to have this solution. So anyway, this is definitely. Oops, what have I got here? I've got the window down. Sorry. So actually, I might just escape that. Drop that down. This is just my present shot. You can see today any kid with a presentation, with a computer can do what he likes. It looks pretty good. There's shadows all over the place. They're pretty thoughtful, these people. But you can see this is obvious by a mile. But if you get somebody who's very talented in their craft, they can really do a good job. They fool us. There's tricks they've got tricks that they know about that we know too. But basically, to the general public, it can be misleading. So that would be the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. Before I go on, there's a new video coming out in the future. We've got just 2 minutes on that. Am I right? I got my hour, didn't I?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just put this on before I answer the question. I think it'd be important to show you this because These are coming in the future. Just get it away.
I'll just let everybody know that during the following break, if anyone wants Tim to sign his book, he will actually be in the book room signing. So if you've bought a book and he hasn't signed it yet, make sure you get him to sign it during this break.
I'll run this one first.
I think it's long past time to open this up to the public. Give us information to the young people of the world in this country. They want to hear it. They want it. Give it to them. Don't hide it and tell lies and make stories. They're not stupid.
I decided to make a motion picture that would finally put to rest over 60 years of official denial regarding the UFOs.
In this exhibit in North Air Force Base, the three-star general said that these vehicles were capable of doing light speed or better.
Very much like the one we had. That one here, in choice. That's the Lucy one.
We have contact with aliens not originating from some foreign country, but from some other solar system. And I have been a party to it.
Eventually, there's going to be something happen that will make all of them have egg all over their face. And they're going to have to admit that, they haven't been truthful at all.
That's the future. Our products are getting better all the time. So we've got something to look forward to. So the original idea that there were in end times, I think, is in.
I think it's long past time to open this up to the public.
That's what my
Give us
presentation.
information to the young people of the world.
And I thank you for listening. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Tom. We'll take a 15-minute break.